Hi, so this is going to be a really quick whiz through what we've already done in coding. I'm not going to be explaining why I'm doing it, etc., or getting you to think. I'm just going to go bosh and do it. So you then can use this to catch up if you're any of the bits that you've missed out. All right, so first of all, I'm not using what we use in the class because I'm going to go on the website. So if you want to do this at home, you can, and it's Scratch and Scratch Online. I trust this, it's MIT. All right, so I'm not even going to bother signing in, I'm going to create. But I'm going to do exactly the same as what we've done in the class. Well, I said it was going to be quick, but if it's so slow to open up, maybe I won't. Right, so I don't need that. There are lots of tutorials in here. So remember what we did. We got basically, when a key is pressed, we want it to point in a direction, which is motion, not the turn one. Point in direction, that clicks in there, and then we want it to move 10 steps. It is important that you do it in that way. If you want to as well in this, you can always put if on edge bounce. What that means is if it touches the edge of the screen, it won't go off the screen. Sometimes we feel as though it disappears. So when the up arrow is pressed, click on the other one in the up direction. You've got to do this for all of them. Move 10 steps. Try it. Okay. Remember, we click on the direction and then you press the middle one. That's that. Also, the other thing, it's too big. I'm going to say 10. Enter. Oops, 10's too small on the website. Let's try 20. Okay, it looks tiny there, but when we put it on the full screen, it'll be fine. Okay, duplicate. Duplicate. Because there are 4 directions, we need to make sure that we do all 4 directions. So use it logically down. Change that. We're changing one thing and testing it. And move 10 steps. Okay, so does it go down? Yes, it goes down. Does it go up? Yes. And then you've got to do those for all 4 directions. Turning left and make sure the arrow is pointing to the left. And turning right and make sure the arrow logically is pointing to the right. If you put the 10 steps first, you'll have problems later on. That's that. So moves up, down, sideways, upwards and down. All right, so then I think we put the background in, or the backdrop. Okay, there's your backdrop. I'm clicking on that. Choose a background. You can choose whatever you want. I think I chose the forest. I'm going to choose the forest anyway. And there it goes in. Then in that backdrop, not the code, because I'm not moving the backdrop or coding the backdrop at this time, we're going to put the platforms in. We use a colour that isn't in the backdrop because later, I hope you can remember all this, we make sure that what we do is we tell the sprite not to go through that colour. And at least 20, maybe a bit more, because if it was only 9 or 10, the sprite would go through it. I've always suggested keep it quite simple. Don't make it too I don't like that. My favourite button in the whole wide world, undo. I'm going to go like that. It's okay, I suppose. What I'm doing is I'm making sure there's quite a big gap between the different platforms. There's a trap there going up to there. Put one there. Because there's going to be another sprite chasing you around. You want areas that you can kind of hide or get away from them. So you might want a little thing in the middle like that. Remember the Pac-Man that we played at the start. There you go. I'm quite happy with that. So now we go back to the sprite. And what we do is not the costume of the sprite, although we do that later. That's how you change it. The code on the sprite. What we did was we told it not to pass through the colour red. The computer doesn't know what the platform is, but it knows what red is. So we remember it's when the game starts. This is an important block of code that we often use. And logically thinking, what we needed to do, we had to do it throughout the whole game, so we needed to use a repeat. And a repeat for the whole game is just forever. And you use that block of forever code there. Then we needed to use a conditional. Remember what a conditional is? basically 2 keywords, if, then. You use them in your writing, you use them all the time. If you do lots of lovely work, then you will get a purple phone, things like that. And they're in the commands as well. There we go. Oh, sorry, the controls. That has to click in to the forever. We need, at the moment, we're telling it if, then, and there's nothing there. So we need to tell it what to do. Remember, computers are pretty stupid. You've got to tell them everything. If touching that colour, then do not pass is what we're trying to do. You can't try and guess the colour. You have to make the colour exact. Look what I'm doing. You select the colour from the platform and in it goes. It won't work at the moment. Why not? We're not telling it to do anything. Now, we worked out that to get it to not pass through the platform, logically we couldn't come up with any ideas except move 10 steps backwards, and it goes in there. And how did we work out what 10 steps backwards is? Put a minus in. And then trial and error, I see if it works. And it doesn't work. Can you see why? Look at the flag. Alright, so you need to make sure you click the flag at the start of the game. Bosh, bosh, bosh. There you go. It doesn't matter how fast you go, you shouldn't go through, as long as the platforms are thick enough. Next job. Can you remember what it was? Yes, we got another sprite. Make another sprite. You could choose whatever you want. I'm in the forest. I'm going to choose a beetle. Beetle is far too big. I'm going to make him smaller. I'm going to make him 30. No, 20. Remember, you can use trial and error. I'm going to make it full screen. Is that beetle too small? I think the beetle's too small, don't you? Trial and error yet again. So I'm going to make it to 30. And then press enter. There I can see without making the screen bigger. Yeah, I think that's fine. It's about the same size as the cat. Okay, so then we need to be, well, I kind of started saying it's like me, I want to be lazy doing it, but it's not. It's what I want to be is efficient, okay? I don't want to have to put all that code in there. So all I do is I drag. This is hard on my MacBook. And drop. It's easier, you use your pointing finger, your left finger on the mouse, the one with the star. You hold it down, you wait till it, see how it wiggles? It turns blue and wiggles when you're dropping the code on. And then you press on there. It looks like it's not done it all, but we right click and clean up bot blocks. Alright. Now at the moment, using trial and error, what happens is both of them are controlled by the arrow keys. Well, that's not much of a game. You will never, ever, ever catch the other character, would he? He'd never catch the other sprite. So we use the same keys when we're making games, mostly all of the time. 2-player games. And we use them in the opposite side of where the arrow keys are. So to go up, we use, can you remember? Whoops. W. To go down, we use S. To go, oops, a daisy, to, oh, I made a mess there. That's not, when the S key is, what was minus, see, everybody makes mistakes. That's the left key, isn't it? See how easy it is to make an error? Doesn't matter. As long as we debug it and we find our errors, that is how we learn. I'm going to the left, so let me remember. Oh, that's the letter A. And the down is the S, what we tried to do before. I'm sorry I'm doing this really quick, but it will be too long if I don't do it. And then the right, the equivalent is the D key. That didn't do D, it did Q. And then, as ever, you try it. You see if it works. So my little sprite works, up, down, I'm correct. And this one works up and down. Okay, I quite like how it does that. It looks quite good, except I didn't press the flag. So, did you see what was happening then? I'm glad it did that. It's pushing it away because of the code that we put in to tell it not to pass through red. Dun, 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 dun. So you've got a simple 2-player game. One creature chasing another. Okay, and that's it. Now, how did we make it even better? We thought, what makes a game more interesting? Why do you want to play a game again and again and again? We came up with 2 reasons. One, is because you get a reward. And the other reason is that you kind of get a little bit of danger in there, so you like to beat what you did the last time, a bit of stress. Rewards we're going to do later, and that was with points for scores. And the stress in this point, well, the stress is the other creatures chasing you in a way, but the other little bit of stress, good stress, is to create a time. If you've only got 30 seconds to do something, it's quite tense. And we do that, hopefully you're shouting into your iPads. Yes, you do that by creating a variable. Remember, in science, variables, we use them all the time. In fact, time is a variable, as we know. You change things in a science experiment, and that is the variable you change. It might be the temperature, it might be the time, it might be the amount of times that you stare at. You only change one thing to make it into a fair test. Make a variable. What we're going to call this one? Time. Create that time. Okay. Now, as you can see, the time little thing has popped up on the top of the screen. So what we're going to do next is we're going to tell it what to do, because at the moment it's just time equals 0. As we came up with the ideas in class, we know that time usually is given to you and then it's taken away. So I'm going to set my variable, which in this case, oh look, I'm doing it on the stage, by the way. I'm going to set my variable, the time, to, I'm going to just set it low at the moment to 5. And then change it to 30 or 60 or whatever later on. I need a control. I need an event. Set the time to 5. Then we thought, what do we do each time? What do we do? It's a bit tricky when you're using time. What do we do every action? What we do is we remove 1 from the time. So we looked at a repeat. Okay, and if the time is 5, I've got to repeat it 5 times. And what I'm going to do every time is to remove 1 from the time 5 times. So, here we go. We said, mop my variable, time, change time by 1. Well, if I press it, you click it, you can see, oh, it's done it so quick, it's got to 10 in the blink of an eye. What it's doing is it's adding each time. So we made it a -1. -1. And then I test it. And you can see on the screen the time. See how quick it does it? You can't see it. So we've got to tell it to wait. And luckily for us, in the controls, there is a... Oh, this might be slightly... there it is. Might be a little bit different to the one in class. And then we test it again. I'm going to make the screen big. Press the flag. And there you go. You can see it counting down 1 second at a time. When it gets to 0, nothing happens. I can still move because we're not told it to. Now, what I decided was, or what me and some of the other children decided was the best idea, was to, when the time equals 0, we tried end script, stop all at the end once that had all done. And actually, that wouldn't work. I was hoping that would stop you from using the little people. The characters, the little people, sorry. But it doesn't. So what I then thought might be an idea would be to create another backdrop. And I'm clicked on back the stage, and then click on backdrops, and I'm going to add a new one. Bosh. And I'm going to use a game over. I'm going to use that neon tunnel. You can see it's created it. I'm going to use the text in there, game over. Oops. And in that, we can make that bigger, hopefully. This is awkward. Come on. That's it. You've got to press about. You've got to show perseverance. Game over. So what we're going to do is, when the time equals 0, we're going to tell it to change from that backdrop to that backdrop. So that is in the code. Is the code on there? Okay, so what we do is we could put it even here. So it's how it looks. So we're going to say switch the backdrop to neon background. Let's see if it works. This won't work because I didn't change the background. I don't want to have to change the background every time. I'm going to tell it to do it. So what's the background? Forest, there you go. Now it should work because it's going to change, set the backdrop, and then it's going to change it. So let's see. There you go. Now this should change when it gets to 0. Boo! I'm happy. But you can still move those. Now what we worked out we could do is we could go into that mouse character, and you could tell it that when time equals 0, instead of stopping it, we couldn't really get it to stop. Oh, maybe we could. I might be able to learn something. So it's another one of those if time equals 0 throughout the whole game. Oops, daisy. Where's it gone? Phew. When we need those little blocks there. If time equals 0, they are in operators. If something equals 0, keep doing the same thing. This is my MacBook and there is no mouse on it, so it's a little bit trickier to. And if something equals 0, if time equals 0, and I need to go into the variables and grab time. Sometimes the time disappears like that. Can you see what I'm doing there? If it ever disappears, any of your little times and things like that. At the moment, we're not telling it to do anything. So if the time equals 0, then you can hide. It's how it looks. There you go, hide. What that should do is to hide the sprite. Now it's already hidden the sprite. Did you see what happened then? Because straight away it did. So what I've got to do when you use a hide, I think you've got to do this always. You've got to press show. So it shows it, it waits till it equals 0, but there's an error in this, I can see. Okay. It's hiding it. So what I need to do is to put in, it's for the whole of the game. Forever. I hope that goes in. Come on. Now, will this work? Fingers crossed. Oh no. Why has that not worked? It's still not worked. And this is why we've got it work. Oh, okay. Forever. If the time equals 0, hide the sprite. Show the sprite at the start of the game. That should work. I'm going to pause it while I work out why it doesn't work. Then hide. I wonder if that stop sprite would work. I'm going to drop it and then stop script or stop. The controls, isn't it? Stop all. I wonder if it works if I put that in there. When it equals 0. Let's see. Oh, I know why it didn't come on. Do you know why it didn't come on? It didn't come on because I didn't press the flag. It stopped all, so that's not good. And it doesn't stop it. It doesn't stop it, the sprite from moving. So I'm going to go back to the other one and put the hide in. Changing our ideas as we go along. Okay. Okay. Right, let's see if that's that. If it works, fingers crossed. And this is your basic game. 3, 2, 1. And then it disappears. And do you notice my sprite disappeared? So that is the minimum we were going to do. The next one is some extra things that you could do at home or in class Or if you want to come next week or something like that, maybe in one of the Techno Team times, you could have an extra play with it. Hope you find it useful and good luck. Oh, the website is scratch.mit.edu. Okay, so here we go. That's it done. You just pause.